So, welcome Bethany Sharp to Don't Follow the Shepherd. She's in Jupiter, Florida, Palm Beach Gardens. Um, and she's got such an interesting story. An entrepreneurial comeback is what I call extremely resilient. And through COVID, she faced some interesting challenges. And so she's going to talk a bit about that. Why don't I let you kind of introduce a bit about your story, um, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
I'm a lifelong Jupiter Palm Beach Gardens native. I was born and raised here, one of six, four brothers, identical twin sister. Parents are still married, grew up in a strong Christian spiritual background, family, amazing, strong family. My girls now go to the same school that I went to. I never really knew exactly what I was talented at or good at or what I wanted to do in high school or even early on in college. I went to school. I started out as a nursing major. Quickly realized I don't like medical. I don't like blood and guts, any of that. So I found like I love all things design and fashion and graphic design. So I majored in graphic design, graduated PBA, and went on to do some graphic design for a local race car driving team, which then later turned into me marrying him. And I became the graphic designer for the race car team, sponsored by Tequila Patron. It was a fun, wild life. I like to say I was life in the fast lane. It was pedal down. We traveled to 14 races a year internationally with my two daughters, who were very little at the time. And, there would be weeks where we would go from Italy to France to the south of France, back to Ohio, back to Georgia. It was like nonstop travel. And I thought to myself, well, I know I'm not Kim Kardashian, but my God, I want to start packing easier. I'm buying all these outfits for different trips, and then I need a different wardrobe for that trip. And then I come home and I'm unpacking it all, dry cleaning it all, putting it all away just to do it all over again in a week. And I'm thinking to myself, there has to be some kind of service for this. And I really started to brainstorm and think, well, there wasn't, because I heard early on that the best company is when you build a company when you're the client. So I was thinking to myself, I want to create this business about what I would want. And I would love to have wardrobes sent to my destination so I didn't have to pack so much. So I came up with the concept Lady Jet Set, found that the name didn't exist. So I was very excited about that, and just really started to research as much as I could about how to start a business, because I had not done any business courses, any business classes whatsoever. And I just knew I wanted this company to be created that I would be able to use one day. So I quickly dove headfirst into starting this company, Lady Jet Set, and found out that I needed to get a wholesaling license to go to New York and buy inventory to be able to list it as a rental for women. So w women could now rent their wardrobe, but we would ship it to their destination. So it was a fun, exciting few years, and learned a lot about business and fashion, and traveling to New York 4 times a year to buy fashion at wholesale, to list it to the website, trying to connect with influencers and bloggers to get my name out there, and hired a great PR company that got us to level phase 2 acceptance of Shark Tank, because everyone really thought it was such a great idea. So I felt like I was just at the peak of this was going to take off. It was going to be something successful. And then COVID hit, and nobody knew anything. There wasn't going to be any more events or travel. And so it quickly just put a stop to everything I was doing, with nowhere to go, unsure of anything to do. Then went through a terrible divorce at the same exact time. My husband was my investor, kind of just defunded the company, fired the employees, and I was just left by myself with $1 million of inventory sitting in this beautiful space that I had created with employees that weren't even writing back to me because they were fired, with not an idea of where to go next, with two little girls, the world shutting down. So it was quite a journey. And I just remember thinking, I had such an incredible support team. I just remember thinking, like, there's no way this can be my story. There's no way that it just, all that hard work and this was such a good idea. It's such a good idea. How can this just like everything be stopped and done? And how can I just be okay with just closing these doors? And I remember someone saying to me, normally when you let things die, that's normally when they can be resurrected one day. And you just have to sometimes surrender the fact that it's not always going to be the way we want it to go. And very rarely is our first idea the home run idea. And I remember thinking, you can't just have a good idea because if it's just a good idea without proper execution and proper timing and showing the numbers for it to be successful, then it's just a good idea. So I really put it on the back burner and thought it was like definitely my first baby. And I really thought, I really want this to go somewhere one day. But until then, I decided to continue learning about business and how to make the most money. And I really dug deep into studying ROIs and how I should invest my money. And then I quickly found that a startup is at the very, very bottom of the list for how to make money and how to get the best return on your money. And here, that was the number one way I started a business is a full startup. So I thought to myself, wow, if this is the money I have in my now after a divorce to use to invest, and now that I'm researching and learning about the best dollar for your investment and the best way to make ROI, the last thing I can do is take this money and go do another startup. So that's when I started just doing real estate investments and fix and flips and working with my brother. And, I had some properties that had a 70% ROI. I'm currently finishing a property right now that's going to be 90% ROI. And so I thought to myself, wow, that's what I have to be doing because that's where the money is. And that's where, like, how stupid to think that I would take all this money and just go do a startup when that's like at the lowest of like you might as well just put your money in a bond at less than 5%. And a startup is like less than 0.01%. So I thought to myself, well, that will be one day, maybe when you don't even have to worry about money is when you could focus on a startup. But I found myself, this real estate, it's not very exciting. It doesn't like wake me up in the morning so excited to go to work and so excited to conquer the next challenge and so excited to get my creative brain working again. And I found that I really felt the most passionate when I was challenged with creativity and creating something and designing something. To me, that was where the most reward was. So I just found myself co-chairing for every gala and just pouring my time into galas and events. And people would say, "Oh, you're so good at this and you're so good at that." And I'm like, "Yeah, but that's not fulfilling me either. And I know it's good and but I feel like I'm just missing something that." And I just kept praying, God, please bring me something that is like supposed to be my passion project, but also successful. I'm not interested in just like throwing away my time or money anymore just to create something creative. And that's when I was approached with purchasing this Scout Guide publication for Jupiter Palm Beach Gardens. And it was kind of a full circle moment because when I had Lady Jet Set, I was in the Hamptons at a big bloggers event and I saw a Hamptons event and I saw all the top bloggers were there and these were like top events. And I thought to myself, man, if my company could just get in the Scout Guide, I will have made it. I will be in the same spaces and places with these top designers and bloggers. And then my company will get out there. And at the time, it was a little too much for me as a startup. So when I saw that there was a Scout Guide publication for Jupiter Palm Beach Gardens in my hometown, and I'd never heard about it, and then I was being asked to purchase it to become the new owner editor, it was just kind of a full circle moment. And I immediately thought to myself, here at one point, I was on the other end thinking, man, if I could just have my company in the Scout Guide, I will have made it. And then I wasn't quite there yet. And then that company gets taken away from me from COVID. And now I'm being asked to own the Scout Guide, where I'm looking for other businesses to be a part of it. So it was a really cool, weird, full circle moment. And I thought about it. I looked through the numbers and it was going to be something worth it and successful. But most importantly, it was an opportunity to be in the place where I got to be creative again and have fun with events and meetings and talking to people and connecting people. So I took it on, and now I'm the editor owner for Jupiter Palm Beach Gardens. And it's been, it's back to like where I felt like with Lady Jet Set, where I wake up excited to conquer some kind of new challenge and think of a new creative idea to really grow it and brainstorm it. And I'm even now, for the first time, thinking of bringing Lady Jet Set back into the concept with the Scout Guide, because the Scout Guide readership is a lot of travel based. And I thought I could be Lady Jet Set for the Scout Guide and talk about where we're going and what we're wearing. So it's a fun year ahead and many plans. But one thing that was so important is that I never fully gave up on Lady Jet Set. There's such a big difference between giving up and being discouraged and having something take away your dreams than to say, I'm just going to put this on the back burner and know that like that was not wasted. The time was not wasted. This will be something someday. And so I very much look forward to that day where it's going to be a Lady Jet Set 2.0 and somehow tied into the Scout Guide publication.
One of the comments I saw you made, or you said in an article was, and maybe you just said it earlier about not being bitter, being better.
Mhm.
And I mean, I can relate to that because I've spent a lot of time being a little too bitter about things. But the
Yeah.
shifting your outlook and your mindset is so important. Investing in real, like the other thing I wanted to ask you though, didn't you find the flipping homes or and redoing them a creative outlet for you, or how?
Yeah, and I was the interior designer for all that as well, and it was really fun. But once, and I'm very proud of the way these houses have turned out. It was actually even more fun for me when I got to do the higher end ones, which is what I'm doing now, where I got to really do full circle roof color, paint color, interior trim color, wood floor color, all that. So that was very exciting for me. And what I found was I really do love everything to do with design. Um, and I even went back to school a little bit online for interior design to learn that. But I found, I don't want to be stuck in a box. And I don't, as soon as I picked out the items and the house was done, I was like, okay, what next?
Yeah, it's kind of like you know the the uh the CEOs of big companies, I don't necessarily need to mention names, who bought social media platforms. You have an outlet now where you kind of have a domain that you can control and be the creative vision or mind and have this vision, but then also incorporate everything from local real estate to fashion. I mean, it's interesting. You're probably one of the few people who has who is in the media industry, so to speak, but is also someone who's been very hands-on and experienced in lifestyle magazine topics or subject matter, from fashion to real estate. It's really kind of, you bring a really unique perspective. Can you tell people a little bit about Jupiter and Palm Beach Gardens, for those who don't know? A lot of people know the East Coast of Florida, but they don't know they don't know the nuances.
Yeah, what the heck is Jupiter other than a planet, right? So it's about 25 minutes north of Palm Beach, right? Where you would picture the fanciest part of Southeast Florida. It's where the Breakers is. It's where I think top 1% of the wealth in the nation is, Palm Beach and Rodeo Drive. And we've seen such a huge influx of New York moving down after COVID. So now, Goldman Sachs is there. We've seen just huge transformation, Palm Beach, West Palm. But Jupiter is, it's like our little pride and joy because it's still untouched by the uppity and the fancy and the Palm Beach. It's where you go to raise your family and hop on the boat barefoot, listening to Jimmy Buffett, meet your friends at the sandbar. And it's a boater's town. It's right up on the water, beautiful lighthouse. And the Jupiter Lighthouse is actually the oldest building in all of Palm Beach County. And it's just a beautiful, all surrounded by water. It's where you go hop on your boat and you park your boat at the dock and go have dinner. And it's a smaller town. It's definitely more low key. It's definitely got some of the best beaches. It's not necessarily about the fancy shopping and country clubs and hotels because it's more low key, mom and pop, not fancy, and but just such great families. So I was born and raised here. My daughters go to the same school that I went to, and I love it. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. It's fun.
You're poised to kind of put it more on the map with your publication, which I think is kind of a beautiful thing. I mean,
Oh,
talk about that for a bit.
I hope so, but I do say don't New York my Jupiter. You're welcome here, but don't don't mess it up. Don't ruin it for us. But but yeah, I hope to put it on the map as for to show its beauty and glory of how amazing this town is and how, this community has such a heart of supporting our locals. This community is so much more about let's go to that new coffee shop that just opened. She's a mom of five. And yeah, it's right across the street from Starbucks. And maybe it's a little bit more because they're trying to make it. But our community, I see there's lines out the door like 2 weeks after they open because we just love to support our locals and we love to support our mom and pop shops. And we love to see the restaurants that are still here after 15 years with the same recipe that will never change, that really rely on us to keep them growing and keep them strong. And so that's where I would love to put Jupiter on the map is if people could just always support our locals and keep our amazing restaurants and businesses afloat and to keep them successful and where they're at. Because at any point in time, when a small town gets put on the map and becomes a bigger spot, and then the bigger chains come in, and then bigger corporations and these mom and pop companies just hurt and they get shut down. That's what would be sad to me. And I witnessed that firsthand being a small business owner and starting my company is the tragedy of just having to shut down your company due to anything, a pandemic, due to not being able to survive, not being able to make it. So taking on this role as the editor owner for the Scout Guide publication has become that much more emotional for me because I witnessed firsthand having to shut your company down. And now it's like my greatest joy to become an advocate for businesses that are a part of the Scout Guide to make sure of their success and to make sure that our not only visitors coming in, I would love to see more visitors and more tourism. And I would love to see our hotels take it up a caliber a little bit nicer. But to more importantly, keep our businesses and successful and to support our locals.
No, the other thing is, besides supporting local businesses, you take a lot of great pride in the fact that this was a woman-launched
Yeah,
publication, and
I
you're
love,
a woman, you're a woman business owner. Talk a bit about the pride and empowering women, because
yeah.
that I think is really also key.
Yeah, I remember when I was in the middle of starting Lady Jet Set, I remember someone close to me said, you have no idea how to run a business. You have no idea what you're talking about when it comes to business. So just do what you're good at and let me handle this because you have no idea what you're talking about. And that struck something so powerful with me because I was like, well, I want to learn and now I'm going to learn. And when my company shut down, I remember forcing myself to read as many books as I can with business and like the Lean Startup and Story Brand by Donald Miller. And what I learned was um, your business is your story and your story sells. Yes, you should learn as much as you can about P&Ls and ROIs and not giving away a percentage of your company until you have to, and maybe not taking on as many investors in the beginning, but just getting your story out there. And I learned quickly that if I start another company, I'm gonna make it about my story and make it about hearing other people's stories because that's what really becomes the most successful. So when the Scout Guide was approached to me, I did know what it was, but when I looked into the company, I was so impressed because I saw started 15 years ago by two women that still to this day have 100% ownership of the national franchise. And when I heard that, I was like, that's so cool because how many times has some macho man from a corporate come along and said, I'll take some of your percentage and you need to sell to corporate and they still have not given away 1% of the company. They own 100% and it's now 15 years long and they now have 101 Scout Guides nationwide. And I was so blown away and so impressed by every single person on headquarters and their team. And I got to meet the two owners, Christy and Susie. When I saw that as the backbone of what the company was, that's when I was like, okay, done. Because not only am I taking on a local publication where I'm a local editor and owner, but I'm becoming a part of a company that I think is doing a really great job, that's successful. Because, like I said, I had to learn the hard way. Like, you don't just start a company giving away percentage and joining with investors. And when I saw that these are two women 15 years ago who have made it and have been successful and now have 101 that they're so proud of, I was like, you know what, I get to be a part of that story as well because that they're going places. This is only growing if they have 100% ownership and now 101 in the nation. So I just love that. I love that I get to be a part of a story where every day I can wake up and look in the mirror and say, you do know business and you do know a good business when you see one. And now you're a part of one. And so many women get boggled down by thinking, oh, well, I'm a mom. I should just be a stay-at-home mom. And, I don't really know business. I didn't go to school for business and I don't know business and I never learned that. And it was that one comment that really pushed me to say, like, well, why can't just because you think you're bad at something, my goal became, I want to overcome what I think I'm bad at. And I remember saying one time, oh, I just could never do sales. Sales is what I'm really bad at. Like, oh gosh, my twin sister can sell a white napkin at a restaurant, but me, I don't do sales. I would rather just give it away to you. And then when I came to the Scout Guide and I thought, no, it's going to be graphic design and publication design. That's always my dream. My dream was to go to New York and do magazine design. Then when I found out, oh no, really the Scout Guide, it's actually more of a sales job, they told me. It's a full-time sales job. I remember thinking, oh, I don't do sales. I don't do sales. No, this might be a problem. And then I immediately heard the spirit inside me say, stop saying you can't do that. Stop saying you're bad at that. I want you by January 1 to say, I'm going to become the best that there is at sales. And what that requires is you have to do something every day that helps you become that best at. And I've learned just because you think you're bad at something and you think, no, 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 I wasn't gifted for that, but somebody else was gifted for that. There's always going to be an opportunity where you get the chance to learn to become the best at that. And I just thought it was so funny that I used to always say, I would never do that. I would never do that. And then I'm presented with this opportunity and I made it my goal. I'm going to do something every day, whether it's listening to a podcast, whether it's just going to have lunch with someone who I think is doing exactly what I thought I could never do and learn from them. And then just practice it and overcome your fears and become what become your biggest fear and become what you thought you were gonna be bad at. And starting January 1st, I said to myself, I will never ever say that I'm bad at sales again. And now I can say in 8 weeks, I've signed 33 pages. So it's really exciting because what I found was that if you focus on what you're so afraid at, you're never gonna get to where you need to be. Just at all points in times, if you're running a business and you're running a company, you are your client. You are your client. If you were sitting down with somebody and you owned a business and you're sitting down with a publication company and they want you in the magazine, what do I want them to say to me? What do I want to hear from them? What would be promising to me? What would make this seem like an exciting community to be a part of? And once I took on that approach, I wasn't afraid anymore because I was able to look at every meeting as if, okay, this is so and so. She's the owner of this company. What does she want to hear from me? What if I was her? What if I was her? What if I was the owner of that company? What would I want to hear? And once I took on that approach, it really transformed my thinking and it really took away all the fear.
Yeah, it's interesting. I love how you um, have been so resourceful reading this stuff. My dad has an MBA, but he wouldn't hire anyone in commercial real estate with an MBA because he just wanted people who were hungry, right? And who were interested, who could teach themselves things, right? And so it's so much more valuable. In fact, the MBA, I understand, is kind of losing some of its um, cachet, I suppose. Like to
Yeah.
be able to have run your own business and then problem solve on the go, like and having run multiple businesses, I think you're so much more prepared to be resilient and creative and innovative. One thing I wanted to know with this concept of multiple publications, kind of the franchisee concept, how much do you engage with other publishers with under the brand? Is that useful? Is that like how does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question because it is all women owned. So it's like a big sisterhood community and it's a big, um, it's there, we have one big Facebook group where we can all collectively chat with each other. And every other year we meet for an editor conference. And so I would say it's really helpful and useful for everybody on a different level of where they're at. So when I was coming in, I really needed to kind of learn from other people, just all the ins and outs. And that was my goal. And just to learn as much as I could. And so for now, more with me, just because I have a personality where I'm like, I have to hit the ground running, I have to dive in head first. Now, where I like to use it as useful is when I found out like I needed to know right away who are the top three scout guides in the nation. West Texas, Naples, I forget the other one, but immediately that became my goal. I need to learn what they're doing. I need to study what they're doing. I need to see what made them successful and follow under their footsteps. And what I've learned is that it's never about competition, it's always about collaboration because there's room for everybody. And when everybody is focused on winning, then we all win together. When we view things as competition, then it's like a winner and a loser. And I just don't view anything as competition. But so it was really cool because one day I was like, I told my team, I need to talk to West Texas. She's over there. I don't know. Everyone's talking to her. She probably has no time for me, but she's built a 168-page book. She's got the most successful one and she's casual about it. I just want to ask her, like, what are her prices? What are her sales? What's her advice? Maybe before this conference is over, I can try to see if I can talk to her. And that evening, I called the hotel. I asked for some water to get sent up, and I get a knock at the door. I was like, "Oh, it's the water." I open the door, and I'm not kidding you. It's Claire, the editor from West Texas. She goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. I think I knocked on the wrong door." I was like, "I don't think you did. I think this is fate. Do you mind if I have 2 minutes of your time?" And she's like, "Yeah, yeah, sure." And she's like, I'm sorry about that. I went to the wrong room. I'm like, no, you didn't. And I was like, I'm the new editor owner for Jupiter. I just took over. And I have three questions for you. I just need to know. And what is your price? I just asked her a few questions, and immediately she's like, no, you got to do this. You got to lower your price point. You got to prove yourself. You got to prove yourself to this town. And I was like, thank you so much. And it was right at the time where I kind of had to make a decision of what it was going to be. And it was just so incredible because that was the moment where I got to learn from her, and I was hungry to learn under her because I want to be the best. I want to be the number one. I want to grow. I want to learn. I don't want to come in too high or too low, or I need to prove myself. And that was really cool advice of what she said to me. And that has been my focus in starting it and launching the rebranding for the Scout Guide for Jupiter.
One other question. So when you're out and about, you probably have a bit of a different lens, right? Because everything is possibly promoting the local area, right? So you have a different eye a bit.
Yeah, but it's funny because, the Scout Guide it is elite and high end, and they're beautiful, and it is about featuring the best businesses, but not necessarily like you have to be the most successful. It's just the best. I want to partner with businesses and companies that have like stories that really tell an amazing branding company story, like the mom and pop shop that has an amazing story. I want to be a part of that kind of company and that kind of business. So I truly am scouting and seeking out businesses that I think are going to be a part of a really cool story that get people to look through this book and stop and think, wow, what an amazing story. I didn't know that that family owned that. That's an amazing. I didn't know they have those two young kids, and I didn't know there's three locations. So I really, you're exactly right. When I go out, I have a list of notes. I'm like, oh my gosh, they have to be my scout guide, and they need you because you're the best. And so sometimes I talk to businesses that say to me, "Oh, we really don't do advertising because we really don't need to." And I was like, "Perfect. Then that means you have to be in my book because that means you're the best, and I'm telling a story about the best." So if you view it as advertising, then that's not the way it is. I'm telling a book about who the best businesses are. So I'd hate to tell this story for an entire year without you in it. I mean, I can go find that company, but I do think that you are the best. So I would hate for you to not be a part of it. So that's what's been kind of exciting is I don't want to chase. I don't want to come across as this, oh, here she comes. Oh, I just want my approach to be, no, we're having fun. We're telling a story about the best businesses. And if I think you are the best, then that should be considered an honor and an excitement to be a part of it.
Wow, cool. I last thing I wanted to ask you, how do you balance all this stuff? Your kid, being a mom, you know,
Yeah, good question.
entrepreneur.
I I've always been very spiritual, and I do have a strong relationship with God. Just something I always say is, we are just as much spiritual as we are emotional, physical, mental. So if we don't grow the spiritual side of us, it's like completely neglecting the physical side of us. And our spiritual side of us is what strengthens us, gives us peace, gives us hope. It's that still small voice inside of us that tells us, no, 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 be careful. No, don't make that email. Respond back with grace, respond back with kindness, even though that person's angry. So to me, that still small voice is my relationship with God, and that forever has been. But something that I had to learn in these last 2 years, which has shaped my life because I had a very hard time as an empath, as a people pleaser, is saying no. And I wanted to take on everything. If somebody asked me to co-chair a gala while I was, managing my daughter's horseback riding schedule and my daughter's cheerleading schedule and doing my real estate fit, I was like, I can't say no, I can't say no. I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes. And Joyce Meyer has the best quote, and it sticks with me so much now. It's, what you say no to allows what you get to say yes to. And that became the new foundation behind taking on this publication. I made a goal for myself. I'm going to take this publication on. I know it's full time, but it cannot affect my relations with my kids, with my family. I have to still make that my number one focus. So what that means is I have to say no to something to be able to take on this new publication. And I made a goal that I was not going to be co-chairing any more galas or charities and taking on any events that were not in the wheelhouse of my year plan because I already had to take on the Scout Guide and now managing my home life. So that has always been a powerful quote to me. And I always encourage people that feel like they are stretched too thin because a worn out you is not a successful you. You you're not successful by saying yes to everything. You're successful when you are damn good at everything that you do because you put your heart and soul and mind into it because you're not worn out and you're not burned and you're not bitter and angry and like, ugh. So I found that you have to, if you're the kind of person that has a hard time saying no, just remember that quote because what you say no to, it allows what you get to say yes to. Now you get to be the refreshed, motivated mom at night, excited to be able to make dinner. Now you get to wake up Monday morning ready to go with your goals accomplished by the end of the week. So that has really shaped my transition this year going into taking on a new role is, and it feels good. It feels good to say no now. No is a complete sentence. And I used to be so afraid of that. And once you get to see the benefit of choosing where you put your time into, you get to be okay with everything that you're taking on.
See, I get free coaching out of this.
I love it.
I'm benefiting
Well,
from.
you know what? We're never done learning. We're never done growing. And now I get challenged by if I think I messed up or if I think I'm continually making the same problem in a relationship, in a habit, in a communication skill, in a whatever it is, I am not afraid to say, okay, you very much are a part of this problem, but it's so easy to learn and grow and conquer areas in our life that we thought we're just bad at. Instead, we like live in this world where we think like, no, I'm just always gonna be bad at that, and I just have to be okay with, and I'm just gonna like cover that. But now it's like, man, I wonder why do you keep taking it personal when your daughter rolls her eyes and you know she's a preteen, why can't you just get to the point where maybe listen to a few podcasts and grow yourself and challenge yourself on becoming a mom with a preteen and how to not take it personal and how to like learn into it and how to grow into it. And you know what I learned is teach her how you've been taught. And now I can look at her and say, you had a bad day, right? You're allowed to have a bad day. You're allowed to have a bad day, but you need to say to me, I've had a bad day and I'm probably going to take it out on you. So I'd rather have some space. I'd rather have some time. And once I did that, it empowered me, it empowered her. But I had to first say, why am I taking it personal? Why am I getting so frustrated? Rather than just saying, ugh, I have a preteen. I'm just going to start getting annoyed every night. And now I just need to mask this up and or cover it. And so now I love to take on any challenge that I have in my life that's a continual challenge. I love to say, well, just like everything you've learned to conquer, there has to be an answer. Whether you listen to a podcast a day or read a book a day, there has to be an answer that can help you overcome that difficulty that you're facing in the moment to find the answer. And when you realize that there is always an answer and it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding because then you get excited about the next and then you have grace for yourself when you mess up. You're not hard on yourself and you can say, "Okay, yeah, that's gonna be my next goal to learn that." So that's just been exciting and been encouraging for me is to be okay with yourself with hard days and bad days. And
Well, I definitely think in your future, not to add anything to your plate, you coaching and mentorship young women trying to balance it all and succeed in multiple aspects of life.
yeah, that was my favorite quote going through the divorce is like, it's very, very, very easy to become bitter and angry when you feel you're the victim and to try to like go around town and get people to feel bad for you and but we all know it. We all know the woman in late 50s that has like bitter victim written all over her forehead that never found healing. And
Mhm.
I remember hearing a quote early on, you get the choice to become bitter or better. And I remember standing up and thinking, I'm going to become the best damn version of myself, the best. But I got to make that choice. I could have stayed bitter and spent the rest of my life, poor me, poor me. Does everyone know my story? Does everyone feel bad for me yet? Like, poor me, poor me. Where does that get you? And isn't it so much more rewarding to wake up 5 years later and say, I can't wait for so and so to see how I've overcome and how I have become the best damn version of myself. And it's so much more freeing to be stuck in victimhood and to be stuck in bitterness is straight from the enemy. It's straight, nobody wants it. It's so much more empowering to like yank yourself out of that muck and grow and learn and learn and learn and grow and fall again and grow and learn until you continually become the best damn version of yourself because we're never done growing. We're never done learning, even for me.
Beautiful. What a story of resilience and empowerment. How can people find, what's the best way for people to find you now? You want them
Yeah.
to go right to the
My
magazine?
personal Instagram is Bethany_Sharp, but the Scout Guide publication is TSG Jupiter PBG. But the main national one is the Scout Guide on Instagram. And we also have a website.
Wow. Great. Well, I definitely want to have you back on at some point.
I
You're
would love
so
to.
busy. You'll be so busy. I'll have to wait in line.
I'll send you my Calendly link.
Um, yeah, no, thank you so much. It was wonderful to have you on. You are inspiring because so many people need to be coached who have gone through these struggles, but you have such a great attitude and you're resourceful and you keep learning and like it makes me want to go read 3 books. So you're
Well, it's just so fun. It's fun to learn and grow, but thank you so much. That means a lot.
welcome. Well, we will catch you next time.
Yeah,
Thank you
absolutely.
so much.
Thanks for having me.